We all know Mexico City is the most populous city in North America, but it's not the most populous city in America, as in the continent. That would be Sao Paulo, Brazil, the largest city in the world outside of Asia with 23 million people. But at first glance, its location kind of makes no sense. It's not coastal, it's not central, and despite only being 40 miles from the ocean, it's at 2,600 feet elevation. So why is the hemisphere's largest city in such a weird spot? Well, welcome to Why There, the show where I explain why your favorite places are in your favorite places. This episode, Sao Paulo. To understand Sao Paulo, you first have to understand Brazil, which, unlike most countries that have a mountainous interior and a flat coast, has a mountainous coast and a flat interior, separating its shoreline from the rest of the country. This makes for some beautiful cities like Rio de Janeiro, but it's also a huge inconvenience for shipping Brazil's rich natural resources to the outside world. But luckily for Brazil, there's one spot where the geography is a little more forgiving, a flat stretch of land called the Piratininga Plateau perched 2,700 feet in the Serra do Mar Mountains, close enough to the coast to access the ocean, but high enough up to avoid the mosquito-ridden conditions of the lowlands. And way back in 1554, Portuguese missionaries realized that if you could just make the short hike up to this plateau, you could access the rest of Brazil. At first, though, Sao Paulo was kind of a backwater, serving mainly as a staging ground for expeditions into Brazil's interior. But in 1690, those expeditions found gold in the region now called Minas Gerais, and Sao Paulo finally had a purpose as a critical logistics hub. Its population soon thereafter exploded. But by the 1800s, the gold had run out, and Sao Paulo had to turn to a new purpose: coffee. Turns out those highlands around Sao Paulo are almost perfectly suited for coffee cultivation with the right elevation, soil, and climate. Coffee barons got incredibly wealthy incredibly fast and poured that money back into the city. By the late 1800s, there was finally a railway running down the coastal mountains connecting the port of Santos to Sao Paulo and turning the city into a logistical bottleneck. Every bag of coffee headed to Europe and every piece of machinery headed to the farms had to go through Sao Paulo. And at the beginning of the 20th century, this turned it into the industrial capital of Latin America, with so many factories that some called it the Manchester of Brazil. This industry attracted immigrants by the millions, making Sao Paulo one of the most diverse cities in the world, and soon thereafter turning it into the largest city in the largest country in Latin America, a title it hasn't given up since. The crazy part of Sao Paulo's story is that its geography is pretty bad by megacity standards, and it probably never would have existed if Brazil's coastal plain was just a little bit bigger. Paisanos, let me know what I missed in the comments, and everybody expect a lot more content about the crazy geography of Brazil coming very soon. Thanks for watching. Follow for more.